Hi everyone, and welcome back to another exciting and jam-packed session at CogX 2020. We have some amazing speakers and a panel for you coming up, exploring AI is shaping the world, but who will be shaping AI? I'll now hand over and introduce our moderator for today's session. She's CEO and founder of Teens in AI, Elena Sinel.
Hello, and thank you so much for hosting us, Anissa. Thank you for welcoming us once again on Generation Z stage. And thank you for tuning in, if you are tuning in live or watching a replay. So today we've got 4 different speakers for you. All of them are teenagers. The youngest one, Izzy and Mutsa, who are only 15, and they will be here speaking to you, speaking about climate change and ethnic diversity, injustices and inequalities. But we will also hear from Sarah, who is a first-year University of Bath student studying maths and computer science. But she has been in our network since age 14, I believe. So she has been around for quite a while, and she's here to talk to you about gender diversity because she's a champion in gender and AI. And you will then hear from Peter, who's my co-founder, who again, we have known Peter since age 15, he came to our accelerator as a mentor. So he has been in technology for a long time, and very recently he already spoke at the most prestigious AI conferences, representing young people, but also at the same time a student at Imperial College London studying computer science. So we will have a panel with 4 of them, and Jordan joining us straight after their talks. But I would first like to welcome Sarah, who will be our very first speaker on gender and AI. Sarah, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
We're very well, thank you. So Sarah, we met when I believe you were only 13 or 14.
A very long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
And you are a gender ambassador. You know, you're the champion for all things gender diversity, and you're very active. You rally in front of the parliament when there are climate change protests. I am so proud of everything you have done so far. But when was this aha moment for you when you decided gender diversity is really my space, and that is where I see myself making that difference? What happened? Tell me.
Yeah, so I think it's mostly from a young age when I actually did attend these hackathons and different events, and I would walk into a room and there was just no people like me. There was mostly boys, and that in that moment I realized that I have to do something about this. I need to start to encourage girls to go into this field because it's necessary and impactful.
So out of interest, we're talking about diversity a lot and often. Not much is being done for some reason. We still have a very, very low number of women in technology. Out of interest, could you please tell me how many women are there at Bath University studying computer science and maths with you at this moment?
So in the computer science department, there's 17 girls out of 100, and actually doing my course, which is maths and computer science, I think there's about 4 of us out of like 70 students. So yeah, there's not that many of us at all.
Somebody decided to join me on the live stream. Okay, so Sarah, whenever you're ready, we're ready to listen to you speak.
Hi everyone, as Elena mentioned, I'm Sara Conejo Cervantes, and as well as being a full-time maths and computer science student, I'm a femtech entrepreneur and a spokeswoman for gender and AI. I'm here to talk about how we can close the gender gap using technology. The reason I chose to discuss this issue in particular today is because inequality between men and women is still a very real issue for women all over the world. In this talk, I'll be unfolding examples of where gender biases has led us to move backwards in our fight for equality. I'll be covering the further implications of these biases on our society, as well as what can be done about it, and offering my personal solutions to this issue. So I want to encourage all the viewers to take on board my solutions and go further than just acknowledging them. Currently, only 20% of jobs in the tech industry are held by women, of which 5% are in leadership roles. In AI, 18% of researchers are women. But why are these numbers so low if women were at the forefront of software development in the 1940s? Well, to answer that question, let's take a quick history lesson where I'll cover just one reason why. Throughout the 1950s, computer science programming was seen as a woman's work, whereas a male vocation was hardware development. In the 1970s and the early 1980s, the number of US women pursuing degrees in computer science grew to 37%, which is nearly twice the number that was recorded in 2015. However, revolutionary software development brought a gold rush to Silicon Valley, and the focus was shifted for men from hardware to software. The media gave us the idea of what a male tech genius was, with the focuses on Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, as well as stereotyping the men that worked in this industry. Women became severely underrepresented, and the number of women working in technology began to drop. Now it's our job to undo what has been done and encourage young girls to pursue careers in technology, in specific AI. Why is diversity so important in the tech industry? Well, the answer is quite simple. Diverse teams build better products. Why is this the case? Well, as a company, you want to encourage as many people as possible to use your product. These people are not going to always have the same needs. By diversifying these teams with regards to gender, ethnicity, culture, sexual orientation, or age, it puts the team in a much better position to understand what the users want. Each team member will be able to offer a different perspective and bring more to the table. I've put two examples on this slide where gender biases have occurred in tech products due to lack of diversity. First is Apple's health app that you can use to track your copper intake before being able to track your menstrual cycle. In addition, the app also has a step counter, which is most effective when the device is in a pocket or a smartwatch is worn. However, creators forgot that women don't usually have pockets even big enough to carry their phones on them at all times, so the step tracker is immediately less accurate on women. This issue occurs due to a lack of diversity and in design thinking. My next example is to do with the lack of diverse data. Google Translate sets gender to certain professions when translating from genders which do not have grammatical gender to when it does. In this case, here's me translating a sentence from English to Spanish. The noun doctor has decided to be male and the nurse to be female. These algorithms enforce gender stereotypes, which is a big part of gender inequality. In addition, let's talk about sophisticated chatbots. Why do these virtual assistants powered by AI, such as Siri and Alexa, by default have female names, female voices, and are often submissive and even flirtatious? Well, Sanya Gulsa-Karat, UNESCO's Director of Gender Inequality, said in a statement, "The world needs to pay much closer attention to how, when, and whether AI technologies are gendered, and crucially, who's gendering them." I could not agree more with this statement. These devices are made with their humanized personalities, which enforce generations of problematic perceptions of women. They are putting a stamp on our society as they become commonly used in our homes across the world and can influence interactions between real women and men. Changes are needed in the education system because bias is a symptom of systematic underrepresentation within a male-dominated field. This leads me to talk about how do we actually close the gender gap? This is a process. Today I will make only 2 points. The first is diversifying data and making the data feminist. It's time to take action and take matters into our own hands. Analyze your data and question it before it even gets used. And my second and final point is work with organizations which are encouraging girls in STEM and in technology. Hold your own events where you can inspire young girls to pursue careers in technology. Thank you very much for listening.
Perfect, Sarah, thank you. And it did really encapsulate all of the main points. And we're going to have you back on the panel in a short while. So could I please welcome Easy for her talk on climate change?
Hi.
Hi, Easy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great and good to have you. It's been a while since we've seen you. Last time, I think you've been in our accelerator last summer. And I remember what you were developing, Green Fist. And I remember this was tackling, remind me, this was to do with a food shortage and sustainability. And this really seems to be something that really drives you. So climate change, sustainability, food shortage, and whatnot. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your talk on climate change. But first and foremost, I know you've heard John Kerry have a very interesting discussion with Anne Applebaum. What was the main highlight from that discussion for you? What did you infer?
Pardon?
The question is about the conversation John Kerry had with Anne Applebaum on day one, which was to do with climate change. I know you listened to that conversation. What did you take away from it?
I didn't actually catch that conversation.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Okay, no, I thought you did. Okay, well, we will talk about climate change during the panel. And in the meantime, whenever you're ready, looking forward to hearing you speak on climate change.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name, as Elena said, is Izzy Fernandez, and I'm a Teens in AI ambassador, having taken part in their accelerator last year and represented them in UNESCO's Internet Governance Forum in Berlin last November. Today, I'm going to tell you about the impact that COVID-19 will have on our environment and how we hope that in the midst of all this tragedy, the pandemic will have a positive effect on the future of our planet. Before the pandemic, many of us were campaigning to drive change in our country's policies and society's attitudes towards climate change. We'd begun to make great strides, and there were many conferences planned to tackle this problem. However, while some of these will go ahead online this year, others have been postponed, and even those that do go ahead will not have the same impact as if it would happen face-to-face. Just a month after lockdown measures were introduced, the positive impact across the world on nitrogen dioxide levels, a measure of industrial pollution in the atmosphere, was staggering. Reductions were around 50% across Europe and other regions. The massive reduction in air travel and other modes of transport has also had a very positive influence on our air quality. As well as atmospheric improvements, the pollution of water across rivers and oceans has greatly reduced, so much so that in Venice, the water is the clearest it has been for 60 years. Wildlife has thrived as negative human influence has diminished, and we can see amazing scenes of animals on land and sea in environments that would not be safe for them in a pre-pandemic world. However, we do have to realize that once lockdown measures start to relax, animals have become used to minimal human contact will quickly make themselves scarce. The fact that these animals have expanded into our areas demonstrates that humans have been encroaching on their habitats for too long. After many weeks of lockdown, we can start to empathize with their need for space, and I hope we can strive to make our post-pandemic world their post-pandemic world also. After the pandemic is over, there is one burning question we must answer. What do we do next? There will be some who want to return to the way things were, but this is impossible. And as Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, said, the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Many large corporations are asking governments to take this opportunity to invest in green projects when they restart our economies. And scientists are exploring various routes, such as carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation management systems. And although these initiatives are great, we have to realize that unless we all support the change, these consequences will not be felt long term. After months of being stuck in lockdown, we have all realised there are many things we thought we couldn't live without that are actually not that important. We have learned to repair instead of buy, cut our own hair, use active transport, and some have even started to grow their own produce, or at least buy more locally. Our new situation has forced us to challenge our presumptions, change seemingly unbreakable habits, and leave our superficial consumerist mindset behind. People who were convinced they could not work from home have realised it is doable, preferable even. And those who would buy new clothes to keep up with fashion trends realise it's quite easy to spend months in your pyjamas. We have all been provided with an invaluable opportunity to reevaluate our situation and presumptions and overcome them for the good of our planet. Of course, at the moment, this is little more than wishful thinking, but we really hope that the progress that has been shown to be possible throughout the pandemic can be sustained and focused on addressing the biggest challenge our world has ever seen. This won't be possible if we think it's somebody else's responsibility, because it is our responsibility to protect our future, because our planet is the most finite resource. There is only one Earth.
Again, have you back on the panel, and we will have a few questions for you and the rest of the panel about climate change. And in the meantime, we have got Muirhead, who will come and talk to us about inequalities and injustices. And we'll see you easy back on stage soon. Muirhead, Pearl, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good to have you. So Muirhead, you're one of our youngest participants, and you've literally only just been introduced to our network through Youth versus COVID hackathon. How did you find the hackathon in general? It was a 9-day experience followed by another week's worth experience. What did you infer from an experience like this?
It was a really, really good experience, and it was really intense, but it also taught you some really valuable skills like time management and actual tech skills as well. And the mentors were really good as well. So really good.
And your team was very brave, tackling a really, really crucial problem we're experiencing in our society across the world, of course, and that's domestic violence. What prompted you and your team to pick a topic like this, which is very sensitive?
Well, the theme of the hackathon was to really target an issue that is made worse by coronavirus. So domestic abuse is definitely fits into that category. And making our app is also helping people. So that was why we chose it.
I know we will hear you on the Arms Dev Summit in October. Are you looking forward to that?
Definitely, yeah. By then, we hope to have made so much more progress on the app.
Brilliant. No, I've seen the app. I know what you're trying to do, and I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing you pitch and showcase the project at the Arms Dev Summit. Well done. So whenever you're ready, we are looking forward to hearing you speak on inequalities and injustices.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muirhead Pearl, and today, at 15 years old, I wanted to explore how can we transform today's technology systems in the spirit of justice and equity. So firstly, I'd like to show you a picture of an apple tree. It's not perfect, it slants to the side, and the apples really flourish on one side. Introducing my first word, inequality, and unequal access to opportunities. As you can see with our tree, it doesn't seem quite right. So let's try the opposite instead. Equality. This sounds better, but looking back at our tree, it doesn't seem quite right either. I'm going to leave these two words behind and focus on the next two. Equity. Custom tools that identify and address inequality. Looking at our tree, this looks a lot better. And finally, justice. Offer equal access to both tools and opportunities. I want to zoom into one word, opportunities, and keep this word aside. Currently, these words are as relevant as ever, and it is so important to stay educated in our society. These 4 trees are just the start. Justice and equity are not that easy, but to do the next 10 years right, we must strive to bring them. Technology has taken our world by storm. We rely on technology for many aspects of our daily lives, and is one of the largest sectors to contribute to the economy. However, there are only 4% 4% of the UK tech force are from a Black or Asian background. This is extremely low and so shocking. There is a lack of Black, Asian, ethnic minorities in tech, and this must change. So diversity is kind of like an orchestra. You have a range of different instruments, however, together they make beautiful sounds. Without diversity, products become flawed. An example, a passport checking service failing to recognize darker skin tones, but it was still launched. This leads on to why diversity is so important. By me having a darker skin tone, one of the main things I would consider is whether this product can recognize everyone. Is the dataset diverse enough? A different person may think of other things which I would not have thought of. Like the orchestra, when we combine our different thinking, our products become stronger and suitable for more people. The obvious solution to a lack of diversity is the lack of diversity some may pose is, let's hire more people from Black and Asian backgrounds. However, Sinel Patel, the COO of PwC, spoke on this issue, saying there aren't that many people to actually employ. So, how can we get more people from BAME backgrounds into tech? I'd like to go back to that word, which I said was really important from our apple trees. Opportunities. Let's zoom into the younger generation and give them opportunities to get into tech. So the next 10 years of tech has people from all backgrounds. Since a young age, when I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would flick through the traditional jobs, doctor or work in finance, and you kind of get the picture. A career in tech is something I would never have considered. However, a year or so back, I was given an opportunity to go to a workshop with a community called Young Coders Meetup. Here, I discovered my love of tech and eventually joined the community myself. Without this opportunity, I would not have even considered or found the love of tech, or essentially be here today. Taking opportunity presents new interests and talents. By giving opportunities to young people from Black, Asian, and ethnic minority backgrounds, you not only plant a seed for a diverse future, but you positively impact on that person's life. It only took a few people with this mindset from Young Coders Meetup to obtain a 50-50 gender parity, 47% of people from a Black background and 25% from an Asian background. The Teens in AI Youth vs. COVID hack, which I attended, had over 200 young people from all over the world participate, and most from a BAME background as well. As I was so fortunate to gain opportunities, I wanted to give back. You can now see some writing I wrote a few months ago. One of my life goals is to go back to Zimbabwe, where I was born, and give opportunities. For example, tech workshops to specific areas where kids aren't as fortunate as me, so they can have fulfilling futures. Hopefully giving them new ambitions. Being given opportunities changed my life, and I'm committed to do the same. So, to end, let's give opportunities to those with Black, Asian, and ethnic minority backgrounds, especially those who are underprivileged. Let's give an environment where they can find new talents and passions. You are not only potentially opening new doors for people, but the future of tech begins to flourish with diversity and new talent. And that is how we can do the next 10 years right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for such a brilliant presentation, and it is so relevant right now to speak about diversity, gender diversity, as well as racial prejudice and diversity in tech. So we will have you back on the panel, and we will now have Peter, who will be the last speaker of the day before we reconvene for the panel. So Peter, hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. I just unmuted myself. Okay, yes.
Okay, brilliant. So Peter, I know you have 20 slides, so I'm not going to be asking you too many questions, but I really do hope you will breathe and you will pause as you take us through your 20 slides. So looking forward to that. Ready when you are.
Okay, I was expecting the question, but sure. Okay, so I've been given this talk topic, role of robots, AI, ethics, robotics in a post-pandemic world. And I guess this is my 5-minute take on this rather broad brief. Come on, change slide. Okay, cool. So the talk begins in 13th century London. A fire has just ravaged a sizable portion of the city, and the townsfolk are doing the 13th century equivalent of demanding answers. And indeed, did answers come. On this slide, we see some of the oldest building regulations in London's history. And the title reads in the Latin of the day, a consideration made through the council of good men to calm anger and appease the townsfolk, and, with the help of God, defend against fire. These quote-unquote regulations instructed new buildings to avoid using thatched roofs, and even go on to instruct existing thatched roofs to be plastered up within 8 days. And indeed, after the Great Fire of London in 1666, further regulations were put in place, this time mandating that the outside of buildings were made out of brick or stone. Further changes to these rules came in the 20th century, yet we were unfortunate enough to witness yet another catastrophe very recently, more than 800 years after the city's government first started acting on fire safety. Now, obviously, we can't blame fire safety regulation for taking so long to develop as a society, because as a society, technology and government were evolving at the same time. And of course, we were quick to act on things like the dangers of AC electricity, and even more so on aviation. So if we fast forward to 2020, we have a situation where the fledgling field of industrialized AI is getting quite a bit of bad press. And there have been some pretty high-profile cases of AI messing up and affecting both directly and indirectly, to varying degrees, people's lives. And this goes from major inconvenience to death. And unlike the aforementioned technologies, where the effects are often localized and perhaps physical, it only takes the press of a button to scale a cloud application to impact thousands of more people. And I think that Jack Ma puts it best in an alleged conversation with the CEO of Walmart. In 10 years, Alibaba will be bigger than Walmart. Why? Because if you want 10,000 new customers, you need to build a new warehouse. For Jack Ma, it only takes 2 servers. So with the costs of failure so great, in certain use cases so great, shouldn't these systems be held to the same standards as their physical counterparts? And in fields like medicine, it's already happening because biomedical engineering has been at it for decades. But what about fields which have hitherto been relatively untouched by new technology, or fields that, like modern AI, are in their infancy? So one of the hot topics of the day is algorithmic bias, and loads of work has gone into this, but one of the best prophylactics is still good old quote-unquote unbiased data collection. Yet so ingrained in our biases in our societies that in fields like medicine, which are seen as like the pinnacle of, or science in general, which are seen as like the pinnacle of reason and objectivity, humans aren't being trained on representative data sets. So certain people would also, so I've been talking to my friends about this quite a bit, engineering friends, and they've been telling me that what about proof? Formal methods are on the rise. Well, the thing is, while perhaps feasible on deterministic systems like satellite control systems, formal verification on probabilistic systems, as it stands, is very much in its infancy. And it's also hard to prove that a system is fair when we haven't yet got a proper definition as to what fair is. So what about good old test-driven development, for example? Well, again, it's only as comprehensive as the tests you write. And again, which basically depends on the people who wrote the test and the diversity of the team. And two comes the question of human-machine interaction. Are machines here to replace or augment us? Do humans being augmented even get the distinction? Do they even care? Will they just abdicate responsibility to an autonomous system nonetheless? The test driver for the Uber car that crashed a couple of months back was on her phone watching television while behind the wheel, and clearly abdicating it despite company regulation. And US regulators said that this was down to a quote-unquote inadequate safety culture at Uber. But again, in real life, we have to realize that people are lazy too. So one idea that Google did seem to play around with their medical AI to scan for retinal disorders was the rejection of poorly lit images. That is, the AI just outright rejected poorly lit images. And this ruffled a few feathers when it was rolled out, because a few scans that were pretty obviously okay were rescheduled due to poor lighting by the AI. So in short, things do go wrong, and there are no easy answers, and it's not a problem that's restricted solely to AI. So now I'm going to go on to a potential solution inspired by the aviation space, and like potential solution as in more like a band-aid than anything else. the aviation space has done a good, but by no means perfect job of ensuring that there's safety above the clouds. And these are ideas that we could perhaps learn from. The first one, which has already been explored by Microsoft, of all places, are checklists. And they're great for getting routine tasks done, for helping to make sure that you don't miss anything, especially if these checklists are compiled by a diverse set of people for a diverse set of use cases. Certain people say that they're best done in pairs because larger groups seem to miss things out. But again, these checklists have to be pertinent to their use cases in order not to miss anything. And secondly, perhaps even better, is the aviation safety reporting system. And the banner below says it all on the slide. Confidential, voluntary, and non-punitive. In many industries, especially those more focused on research, the pressure to look good and for positive results is immense. And these emotional and often societal constraints are often barriers to open conversation about improving safety. And it seems that a confidential and voluntary and non-punitive model works. In 2019, there were over 6,500 reports to the aviation safety reporting system, many acknowledging that even in such tightly regulated and controlled spaces such as aviation, things still do go wrong. And there's a similar thing for the shipping industry, albeit as a magazine column. So obviously there are issues with this potential system, but for example, how can we encapsulate such a broad field with such diverse use cases? Because with this airplane safety reporting system, we're only reporting things to do with planes. How can we encapsulate all possible use cases of AI? And how could we possibly even protect diverse or secret IP? Because what if something goes wrong when something is in prototype or a company is in stealth? And surely the non-punitive boundary may need to be played with, because really bad accidents that are reported may still need investigation by the correct authorities. But perhaps the beauty of this accident reporting system could be that it could be decentralized thanks to software. Certain people have been suggesting that we get the public to spot bias in AI. And I mean, it's worked for cybersecurity with the principle of responsible disclosure and ethical hacking. So I see no particular barrier for the AI space or machine learning space. Now, again, I'm by no means saying that the aviation industry is the gold standard, nor am I saying that regulation is the way to go, but it does look like I am a minute over time. So do hit me up with any thoughts or anger. I'm probably wrong.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Peter. So let's bring Jordan and Sarah and Mutsa and Easy back on stage. Hello again. Okay, so fantastic to have you back, and well done on your presentations. Peter, I'm really pleased you were breathing and pausing every now and then, because you did have quite a lot of slides. Okay, so we have quite a number of questions, and I can also see there are some questions already coming up on Slido, but we will take them during the Q&A. So for now, I'm going to ask you the questions that I have got prepared for you. And the first one is, what does diversity mean to you? And why is it so important to have diversity in the tech space? And I'm going to ask Peter to start responding to this question.
I mean, diversity for me, in terms of diversity within organizations, is having a good mix of people. And by that, I mean, actually representing each potential group of people who you might be producing products for, and who may be affected by the product that you're building. And the reason that this is important is because you actually need to bring in a wide range of viewpoints, because you will have cases like, for example, what Sarah mentioned about the step counters or pedometers, or even cases where it could lead to death, where, for example, the design of seat belts, where women's body morphologies aren't taken into account. So it's definitely important, because people are ultimately going to be selfish, and people are going to think about themselves first, and it's not particularly it's very difficult to get over. So it's best to have a fail-safe in the form of diversity.
Perfect. And Mutsa, what is diversity to you, and why does it matter?
Diversity to me is inviting people to the table, if you get what that kind of means. So diversity is so important in tech, especially in tech is growing so much and it's really taking over the world. So we need to make sure that everything that comes out as a result of that tech is suitable for loads of people and people of all backgrounds, all skin tones, all genders.
And Sarah, I know you want to add something to what Peter has already had to say. What have you got to add?
Yeah, so actually, there's a book called Invisible Woman, which actually talks about how designs are actually suited for only one type of person, which is predominantly a white male, roughly like 6 feet. And so, yeah, like the car seat example is a really good example where people's life are literally put in danger. But as I mentioned previously, and what you guys have already covered, is you're trying to sell a product to everyone. And how can you sell it to everyone if the people making it don't represent those people? So that would be the point that I would want to make. That's why it's so important to me.
Okay, and Jordan, you're studying robotics at Leeds University. So what does the field of robotics looks like? Is it as bad as the general space of technology and AI? I mean, in AI, we have less than 12% women researchers. What is it like in the field of robotics?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't speak for other courses or other universities or whatever, but in my specific course at my university, there is, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 women out of a course of maybe 70 people total. So there really isn't, the required diversity range that we need. I mean, as a STEM course, we do have quite a lot of Asian students, but that means also our Black representation is fairly low. And I mean, as Sarah and Peter have said, I am a straight white male, average height. I fit the definition of everything that products are catered towards. But that means there are so many biases that are missed out on. For example, if I were transsexual or if I were, a really short person, for example, those sorts of biases aren't included in products and services unless there are people acting on those products and services for the board of directors who can actively add those extra pieces of information and diversity in.
And Easy, I know you will be CTO in the future. I have read it many times. We've spoken as well, and your dad is a CTO. So, what is the space like in the CTO sort of space? Do we have very many female CTOs, and what does it mean to you? What do you think you will come up against when you do, take on that journey to becoming a CTO?
Well, in my knowledge, there aren't very many female CTOs. And as Mutsa said, it's giving people a seat at the table. But that seat should be earned not because of what you look like, but because of your skills and your background and your knowledge. And if there's more female CTOs, you can kind of help make the products that Sarah was talking about, that when females aren't taken into account, we need that voice.
Okay, so that leads me nicely to the next question. Digital technologies are currently shaping and transforming whole societies. Increasing access to data and digital technologies empowers people. However, the digital divide still exists. Now more than ever during COVID times, we have seen it increase, and it plays out along different dimensions. How can we build a more inclusive world where divisions are reduced? And I'm going to ask Mutsa to respond to this question first.
So I think that if we have more people who are, as I was saying, at that table, and people that can represent people that are at different levels on that divide, if there are people there to represent those people, then I think that's our first step to tackle the digital divide.
And Sarah, what is your view? How can we make this world more inclusive? This is so desperately needed in the next 10 years.
I think, as Mutsa said, it is inviting people to the table. It's collaborations between companies and countries and such. We want, I know there's been game development in Asia and in Africa, and we actually want to encourage Europe and the US to collaborate with those. and hopefully that will start to reduce the divisions between our like the world itself.
Yes, but what if US is led by a leader who doesn't wish to cooperate and collaborate? What hope do we have then?
I think it's more up to the companies itself rather than governments and legislations. We need to start encouraging the people who have the power at the top of the board to want to collaborate with these. And I don't know how clear I can make it, but it's literally better for all if we do start to do that, and we need to start to recognize that.
And yes, I have seen a lot of boards right now posting on how diverse they should be, and they're not. I think the latest board I looked at was the Nike, and they're as white as can be, male and female, and yet a very large proportion of the demographic that they serve are Black. And so in this kind of culture where you don't really see diversity at the board level, what can we really do? Because just listening and just acknowledging that there is a problem is not really enough anymore, is it, Jordan?
Yes, I mean, I think we, as Mutsa said, it's really important to invite people to the table from different areas of life and representations. But I think it's also really worth encouraging people to apply for those roles, and the way to do that is for our role models. Again, as a straight white male of average height, blah blah blah, I can look at any sort of news site, any company, and I see people who are like me, people who can inspire me, people who can say I could be just like them. We need to provide those role models for people who are from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds, who are female, who are younger, for example, so that people can feel represented, and then they are encouraged to apply for those positions that can increase that diversity.
So, Mutsa, I'm coming back to you because you have touched upon various points on how to increase the number of BAME. So, what steps should we take as a society or as governments in order to increase the number of Black and ethnic minorities in technologies? So what practical steps do you think we can take?
So the practical steps, as I was discussing in my talk, I think it's really around giving them opportunities. So as I was saying about giving the seat on the table, how can we get them to kind of find that seat on the table, if that makes sense? So if I give you the example that I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to do in the future, that I want to go out and give tech workshops to those who are underprivileged. By doing that, I give them an opportunity and I give them a new ambition for them to be able to work up and in their generation help break down the lack of diversity. And the cycle kind of continues because those people who are those new people who are a diverse team, the people, the younger generation will look up and see, oh, there's people like me in this industry. So then it kind of repeats itself.
Perfect. All right, let's talk about climate change. I know this is something you all are very passionate about. We've already mentioned some of the issues related to climate change yesterday. So the first question I'm going to ask about climate change is, are the advancements in technology enough to overcome the obstacle that climate change creates? Or by creating more technology, are we simply creating more pollution and waste? And I'm going to ask Jordan to start with this one.
Yeah, so I think if we, the technology has amazing potential for all areas of life, but in particular, we can use it to solve the crisis that we're going through in terms of global warming and just environmental issues. But as you mentioned, there's a sort of a balancing act to be had in that if we create more technology, we need more servers for these cloud platforms where, these servers need power. And at that point, we are, still in the cycle of we're having to burn fossil fuels for that power. We're having to create more waste, employ more factory workers who travel, more distance to get to work. And it's a bit of a balancing act. I think we have to come up with really innovative solutions that can reduce the current waste that we're producing and also increase the amount we can handle via technology. And there's business startups that are aiming to do exactly that, which is what's really key at the moment.
Okay, and Easy, do you have anything to add to this question? It's something I know you have covered already to an extent.
Yeah, just to add on to Jordan's point, It is a balancing act, but it's also a balancing act between the solutions and people's complacency. Because the more we put into the picture about, oh, we're going to try and solve climate change with this piece of tech or with this system, people will go, oh, you're doing that, then I'll keep driving my petrol, my diesel car, or I'll keep doing this and doing that, and they become more complacent because they think the issue is being solved for them.
Yeah, I think it's really important to get other people involved in it and not allow that sort of level of complacency to take place. Definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
so we don't have much time left, so I'm going to ask one last question, and I know there will be many more questions to ask you during the Q&A. So the last question I am going to ask you is the same question as I asked yesterday, and it's very important that every single one of you responds to that question is, what are you individually going to do to help deliver a better world, and what support do you need from the rest of us? And I'm going to ask Peter to respond to this question first, and then we'll go over to Jordan, Sarah, Mutsa, and Easy.
I mean, again, as I said yesterday, I'm probably just going to. There's only so much that one person can do, really. I mean, I'll follow what's interesting to me, and that will hopefully align with what will bring to a better world. And I do hope that's the case, because as it is at the moment. In terms of support, again, just I don't really need some beyond the fact that I need to stay alive.
Keep us alive. Okay, Jordan, what are you going to do?
So for me, it would be important to sort of use the privileged position I'm in to encourage, diversity, for example, in these tech positions, and to use a platform really to use that platform to encourage that extra diversity we're looking for. And as going into engineering, for me, it's about encouraging ethical engineering, which is really important. So there's always going to be bad people in each profession, bad engineers that don't quite stick to the ethic codes. But I think our role in that is to call people out on that and to encourage that ethical conversation between engineers and other technological careers.
All right, and Sarah.
So in short, I'll hopefully be launching a podcast towards the end of the summer called Reality Tech at its Finest, where we're talking about the impacts of media on each individual person and talking about mental health. But on a side from that, I want to be collaborating with primary schools in particular, encouraging girls in STEM and reducing and abolishing these stereotypes which we currently put in place from a really, really young age, because that's where it makes the most impact. So I ask them from anyone who wants to collaborate on initiatives like this, and even government aligned, to ensure that the education system also takes these ideas into place.
Fantastic. And Mutsa?
Myself, I'm going to make sure that I educate myself and I help to educate others, and from there take action. And talking about that project I was talking about, wanting to go out and give other people opportunities, and the support I'll kind of ask of everyone is that if people can't hear our voices, help push them out there. And yeah.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Easy.
Well, I'm just going to try and work to get that seat at the table, like Mutsa said, so I can help use AI for good and help inspire the next generation. And the support I would need is to ask the people who are at the table right now to do the same and try and help the younger generations to really get to the places where they need and deserve to be.
Brilliant. Well, my job is complete. I don't really need to do Teens in AI when I have you, the incredible people, doing what you said you will do. So that was fantastic. I'm really inspired by you all. And I hope the audience who have come to listen to you also were inspired. And so we are going to pause now for about 10 minutes or a little bit less than that. And we will reconvene for the Q&A session. We will take some questions from Slido. And if you do have any questions, now is a very good time to ask those questions. And I will then be directing those questions at these incredible young people. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you very shortly.
Thanks, Elena. Amazing session. We're going to take a quick break now, just 10 minutes. We'll be back at 4 with questions from the audience. You can still drop your questions in now, or you can tweet us #CogX2020. We'll see you at 4.